Okay, this is Parashah Re'eh, Bezras Hashem. A lot going on in Parashah Re'eh. There's 55 mitzvot in Parashah Re'eh. Parashah starts with Moshe Rabbeinu telling Bnei Israel that Hashem gives us two paths, the path of blessing and the path, Chas v'Shalom, the opposite of blessing, of curse. We have to make sure to choose the right path in life. And it was explained to us on Har Gerizim and Har Eval, on these two mountains, where it was depicted to us that the blessings on that side, the curses on that side, to make us a visualize of the two paths. Moshe Rabbeinu commands Bnei Israel to destroy all the avodah zaras in Israel upon entering, and not to make any permanent place of worship. Ki im el hamakom, only the place that I instruct to you. The Torah doesn't say where that place is, but Hashem reveals it to David HaMelech in that place, the Bet HaMikdash, on in Har HaMoriah in Yerushalayim, Har HaBayit, and therefore a person is not allowed to make a place of worship that's going to be permanent except for in the Bet HaMikdash. Now, the 55 mitzvot in our parasha, many mitzvot, the laws of shechita, one's not allowed to do bal tosif or bal tigara, to add or to take away from the Torah, the laws of false prophets, the laws of if Jews chas v'shalom serve avodah zarah, the laws of kashrut, the laws of teruma, maaser, shmita, tzedakah, slaves, all the laws of the chagim, and also on the chagim we read this parasha of Kol HaBechor, which is toward the end of the parasha. So that's in a nutshell Parashat Re'eh, and we'll go through a few interesting points. The parasha opens, Re'eh anochi noten lifnechem hayom beracha u'klala. Look, I am giving to you today, in front of you, a path of bracha u'klala. So, anochi means I, but you could also use the word ani. Why specifically anochi? And hayom is today, but the story happened when this thing happened way back when. But if the Torah is for forever, so why does it have to say hayom? I'm giving you two paths. Why hayom today? The Midrash says that this anochi connects to, one would think right away, the anochi, Hashem Elokecha asher hotzitechem me'eretz Mitzrayim, the first of the 10 commandments. So that connects to that, connects to Torah, but also connects to what Avraham Avinu said, Anochi afar va'efer. I am like dust and like ash. I am on a very, hi Ezra, welcome. We have your wife here also, Chazak Baruch. So Avraham Avinu says, Anochi afar va'efer. I'm like dust and I'm like ash. That's the symbol of anava, of humility. David HaMelech says, Anochi tolat v'lo ish. Also the word Anochi, which is also referring to anava. And therefore, an explanation from the Midrash is as follows. Re'eh Anochi noten lifnechem hayom. Midrash says that the mitzvot that we do are so valuable that we can't put reward for them in this world. And schar mitzvah b'hai al maleka, the reward for mitzvot in this world, there isn't. It's mainly the next world. We get, as we say in the morning in Shachrit, we get perot ba'olam hazeh. We get the fruits of our mitzvah, but the actual tree that we plant through our mitzvot, that's in olam haba. The Midrash here is telling us that if a person connects to Anochi, which we said is Anava, they'll have the zechut also of Torah. Then noten lifnechem hayom, I will give you the reward even today. Meaning the zechut of Anava and Torah, a person could even get that reward today in this world. And we see Anava and Torah come together because famously Moshe Rabbeinu, who was the Anav Mikol Adam, he was the one who received the Torah for us. The Torah was given in the Midbar, a very humble place. It was given on Har Sinai, which is a very humble mountain. So Anava, humility, and Torah are synonymous. They come together. And Therefore, Re'eh Anochi, if Hashem says, if I see Anochi, if I see it, you're connected to Torah, you're connected to Anava, Noten Lifnechem Hayom, I will give you reward even today in this world. Unbelievable. One of the sad things in our parasha is the story of the Mesit Umediach, which is, God forbid, a person who tries to get others to sin, to get others to commit avodah zarah. Um, a person is still called a Mesit Umediach, even if he tries causing any type of sin, for this person to do any type of sin. But specifically, and the worst of it is if a person, God forbid, tries to get someone else to sin with avodah zarah, idol worship. So much so that even if he's brought to Bet Din and the Bet Din says he's innocent, and after he left Bet Din, we find new evidence that he's guilty, in general, other people, we don't bring them back to Bet Din. The Bet Din already ruled. But in this type of person, we bring them back to Bet Din and say, hey, one sec, we have new evidence, and this person should not have a innocent ruling, rather guilty ruling. And why so severe? Why are we so severe for such a person? Isn't Olam Chesed Yibbaneh, the world was created for Chesed? Let's give this person a chance. But unfortunately, the worst thing this person is doing Avodah Zarah. This person is doing the worst thing, going opposite of Kadosh Baruch Hu, polar opposite of Emunah, and therefore the worst is thrown. The book is thrown at him. And Rabbi Yisrael Salanta, the great leader of Musar, learns from here something amazing. The Torah says, Bikesh, he wanted to take this person to do Avodah Zarah, meaning he's going to get punished if he wants even, and he tries to get someone to do Avodah Zarah, but is unsuccessful, he will still get punished. But you learn from there to the good. That means if a person tries to help people do mitzvot, and he wants and he tries, but he's unsuccessful, nevertheless he will be rewarded. If in the negative you're going to get punished, in the positive you're going to get for sure rewarded. There's many proofs to show that in the positive, the reward is much, much greater than in the negative. And therefore, if you want to try causing people to do mitzvot, and you're trying, but you're unsuccessful, you'll get a great reward. Part of the laws of Avodah Zarah that are in our parasha is also the laws of Ir Hanidachat, where the Gemara says that most opinions say that it didn't happen before. There's an opinion in the Gemara that says it did happen once, but the Gemara says that it didn't happen. So Ir Hanidachat is what? Is a city that the entire city, a Jewish city, God forbid, in Israel, is serving Avodah Zarah, God forbid. And the entire city has to go up in flames, including the possessions, including everything. And actually, I'm corrected. The Gemara says that this never happened before. That's what I was thinking was Ben Sorero More, that there's an opinion that says it did happen before once, but Iri Decha never happened before. Now, the Gemara does tell us, though, that in the halachot of Ir Hanidachat, like what constitutes if the whole city is doing Avodah Zarah? If a guy did it by accident, does it count? This and that. The Gemara says if there's even one person with a mezuzah on his door, it could save the entire city. Unbelievable. That means that this person is still connected to Torah. He's not totally given up hope. He's not totally involved in Avodah Zarah. He's a little bit of Judaism and a lot of Avodah Zarah, but nevertheless, that little bit of Judaism, he still has the mezuzah on his door. He still has that emunah. He still has that connection. That connection can save the entire city. Meaning, we know that there are things we're approaching. I'm writing up the bulletin, and we're talking about next week's Selichot, and getting back to Elul and Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. It's unbelievable. Um, and we know that when it comes to judgment, a person is judged for his own actions. But there's judgment involved in the judgment that Hashem has with us. He takes everything into consideration, that a person is a father, that a person is a son, everything's into consideration. And sometimes a person could save his entire city. Unbelievable. He could save his entire city. That's what we see over here. Even with one mezuzah, could save the entire city. Unbelievable. Also, in our parasha, we have the mitzvah of tzedakah. And famously, the Torah says, aser to aser. to give 10%. The Gemara Masechet Ta'anit Tet says, Aser bishvil shetit asher. You give 10% in order to become rich. Unbelievable. You will become wealthy if a person gives 10%. And there's explanations to this. Like, there's many people that give 10%, but do they become wealthy? So the Mefarshim explain that a person will for sure attain true wealth, which true wealth is being happy with what you have. If a person is ashir, that's proper ashir, that's proper wealth, being happy with what you have. And therefore, you could be assured that if you're a person that gives 10%, you will get to that level of being happy with what you had, at least that. And for sure, even more maybe of actually being ashir, as the Gemara says. The great rabbi who his Sfarim we learn in the yeshivot, Rabbi Shimon Shkap. Rabbi Shimon Shkap, he was a very, very deep thinker. And his question was, what does this mean even if a person is a Rasha, now he gives 10% tzedakah, that means he becomes rich. And if a tzaddik for some reason doesn't, then he won't become rich. It- how does that work with this? And he says, and he gives a mashal of a king who has um, many treasures hidden in many different locations, and he appoints a guard at each of these locations to make sure that no one comes to steal the treasure. And at some point, he pays the guard for his job, for his service, and he pays the job, the based on the size of the treasure. This person had to guard it even more. If the treasure was $1, like, okay, what's a big deal guarding that? No one's going to come steal. But if it was a big treasure, it requires more, and therefore the payment is more. And therefore, that king is not going to judge this guard if he's a tzaddik or if he's a rasha. Did you do the job? Did you do the job of guarding the treasure? Yes, you did the job. Now you're going to get reward. And therefore, he says that when it comes to this as well, aser ta'aser, aser b'shvil shetit asher, on this, the other factors don't come into play. You gave the 10%, you have a segula of becoming wealthy. And the other factors don't play into it. The great Rabbi David Feinstein, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein's son, who recently passed away a couple of years ago, switches it up in a drush and says, Asher bishvil shetit aser. The proper way is aser ta'aser. The Gemara says, Aser bishvil shetit asher. Aser bishvil shetit asher. Give 10% in order and you will become rich. He switches it, Asher bishvil shetit aser. When you're rich, I mean, become rich in order to give 10%. Meaning, have your whole mentality should be that if I'm going to become rich, any of my money, it's all to give 10%, as opposed to the first way, which is, oh, if I give 10%, I'm going to become rich. Try to be on that higher level, thinking the money that I have, I'm going to give 10%, and I share. I'm looking at my wealth in order to give the 10%. It's a higher way of thinking of it. Now, when it comes to the parasha, we also have the mitzvah of our slaves and how to deal properly with our avadim. And the Torah says, "Ha'anek taniklo," that you have to give him a gift when he leaves, when he's free from you. Meaning, he worked for 6 years, and don't let him go empty-handed. Give him a little gift on the way out. Meaning, you're paying him what you owe him. And this gift is something extra. So what's going on over here that you're giving him? Why should you give him something extra? You're already paying him out, and he fulfilled the job. Goodbye. Why are you giving him something extra? So to add to this, to start the answer on this, the Avraham Avinu we see in the Torah, pasuk says, "Vayelech lemasa'av." He went back in his travels. He went according to his travels, and the Gemara says, Masechet Erchin, Haftet Zayin Amud Bet, that Avraham Avinu, when he traveled to and from Egypt, he went on the same path and slept in the same inns on the way that he went down to Egypt, on the way that he went back. He slept in the same places. Why? What was so important about this? So let's think about for a moment. I guess in modern day is giving a little tip is like giving a gift where someone is not really owed that. Like this Eved is not really owed. He got paid up for his 6 years. He's not owed anything, but you give him something extra. So you give him a little gift, a little tip. So the practice of tipping um, is, we tip people in hotels that take care of our luggages. We we tip drivers. We tip barbers. We don't tip the cashier. We don't tip if you go to a hotel, the guy takes your luggage, you tip him, but you don't tip the person that's at the front desk checking you in. Why is that so? And the answer is because when someone does something for you and they're doing it for you like a service, they're carrying your luggage, they're driving you, they're shining your shoes. They demean themselves to do something for you. They've lowered themselves, and in a certain way, they're like a slave to you. They cut your hair, they drove you. So this is a personal service. They lowered themselves for you, and therefore you should give them a tip to reinstate their dignity. They lowered themselves, give them a tip to bring them back up, show the appreciation of what they've done. As opposed to a guy that's a cashier, they didn't do anything. They just did their job. They didn't do lower themselves for me or anything like that. And therefore, Avraham Avinu, who the innkeeper, back in the day, the innkeeper wasn't just a hotel, it was this person that had a house, and he himself would be the guy at the front desk. He would clean the beds, he would clean up. It was this person's parnasah. He owned this room that he would rent out when people were traveling. So Avraham Avinu wanted to show Hakarat Tov and to give him that dignity and go back to the and patronize the establishments that he slept in to show appreciation for that. So too over here. The Eved worked for you for 6 years. Yes, you paid him out what he's owed, and that's it. But no, the Torah says give him a little bit more. Give him a little gift. Restore his dignity. He served you, literally. He poured your glass. He served your plates. He served you. And therefore, it's the right thing to give him something back to restore his dignity. And that's also the Torah says, ha'anek ta'aniklo. It doesn't say titen lo. Ha'anek, Rashi says, the word anaka is also a connection to a certain jewelry, like a necklace. Ha'anaka, maybe that's where it comes to the word necklace, like that. But when a person wears necklace, they feel like they're elevated. They feel like their dignity is higher. And that's one of the functions of jewelry. And here as well, we're raising this person up, making him feel good. It's the unbelievable power of a small gesture. The Torah tells us the famous pasuk that I like to quote a lot. It's in this week's parasha, Banim atem laHashem lokechem, that we are Hashem's children. Unbelievable that the relationship that Hashem has with us is like a father-son relationship. A father loves his children more than anything else. More than a son loves his father, a father loves a son. Hashem is our father, and he loves us dearly. I often also say that Hashem is not our grandfather, but he's our father. A grandfather loves his grandchildren, but a grandfather relationship is that he gives and gives and gives to his grandchildren without any accountability. They can misbehave, they can this, they just give, give, give. A father, on the other hand, he loves his children more than the grandfather, but he doesn't give with just carte blanche because he knows he has to raise this child, and if he overly spoils him, it's not going to be good for him. So he gives him, but at the same time, he, takes, he makes sure that he's doing the right thing. Sometimes he needs a punishment, etc. As opposed to a grandfather where everything is good. So Hashem's our father. Sometimes he needs to punish us. Sometimes he needs to put us in place. But his love for us is paramount, and his he loves us so much, and he wants us to succeed. We are his child. He is our father. The word, I've said this before, also the word Even, which means a stone, is a combination of Av and Ben, father and son. That union is so strong, like an Even. The Abarbanel says that the word Ben, which is a son, is also connected to the word Binyan, which means a building, to build up. Where a father, he has to build up his son, he has to build up his child, he has to give him that confidence and and raise him in Torah, raise him in mitzvot, and build him. Binyan, this band of yours, you have to make sure to build him up. What's amazing is that Abarbanel says this Abravanel had a tough life, and he was the he was like the finance minister in Portugal, but he was first in Spain during this time of the Spanish Inquisition. He was a very wealthy man. He almost actually paid the king Ferdinand Marchemo and his wife Isabella Marchema. He almost paid to get rid of the Inquisition. They balked at it. They were going to take it. Actually, one of the priests or whatever, they interceded and made sure that they didn't take the money to end the Inquisition. But Abarbanel almost saved thousands and thousands of Yehudim, but they suffered. And then they moved to Portugal, and a few years later, they were also kicked out of Portugal, and then eventually went to Italy. Yet the Abarbanel writes here that Hashem is our father, and the connection is an Av and Ben and a Binyan, where a father builds up a son, even though he had a tough life. But recognizing Hakol Min Hashamayim, everything is for our best. Yesterday, not yesterday, 2 days ago, I had someone here in the office, and he told me I feel like I have a black cloud over my head. And everything I do do we believe in curses? Am I cursed? And so, I mean, this is Parashah Berachah U'Klala. I don't know if he's in the cursed derech. I hope not. But I told him he's a son to Hashem. Hashem's our father, and a father loves a child. Everything that Hashem does is for the good. Sometimes we don't see it. Everything is for our best. Again, sometimes we don't see it. Sometimes we can't connect to it. But we have to have that in mind. And to end, the Ibn Ezra says that Rabbi Avraham Ibn Ezra says that a child follows his father even when he's being punished. So too, even when we're judged harshly, even when things are difficult, we always follow our father. Just like a child follows his father, even when things are difficult, even when he's crying, what happens? He gets punished, he cries, and the father walks to the room. The son runs to the father to hug him. But I thought you're upset. No, he knows his father loves him, and he knows that he did it out of love. And that's the connection we have to Hashem, even though there's difficult times, even though at times it's we're wondering, we're scratching our head, why is this happening to me? What's going on over here? We have to remember Av and Ben is Evan. Hashem is very, very, very strongly close to us, Evan Israel, and everything is for the good, even though things sometimes look difficult and we can't understand them, but everything's Mina Shamayim and everything's for the good. And Bezrat Hashem will always have this message with us for ourselves and our children, and for ourselves in our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Thank you guys again for listening and joining in during your busy day. And Bezrat Hashem, till next time, God willing. Chazak
Thank you,
u'Baruch.
Rabbi.